Okay. There it is, unfortunately, kind of looking into the sun. There we go, Michael and Diana hanging out underneath the dome.
Take a picture, we need a picture.
Okay.
We need a picture of my son today.
Okay, you want a picture?
Yes.
Let me get a still. The guy gave his life for his country. He's a brave man. Don't forget to pause it if you want to read the whole thing.
This is Trail Heritage War. We look up to see flags from all the states of the United States as well as our places like Puerto Rico is that on the ground on either side, not so much down here, but you'll see these pavers. You saw probably a desk in there that told you what our pavers are. People purchase them. We have them made downtown in Phoenix City. And on every Monday holiday, we normally close, we open up, we have a dedication, we put these pavers in the ground. You'll see a bunch down here as we go along. You don't have to have them, you don't have to purchase them for someone who died or anything like that. You can buy them for anybody you want, for any reason, as long as the verbiage fits in the boxes on the application. It costs $250 and they send you a miniature. And bought a paver for each one of those people, and it's sitting over here on your left. We also put a paver in the ground for every single
343 firemen for 9/11.
Who lost his life during the first Iraqi war. It's 500 and some up here as well.
Wow. I did 500 that he mentioned.
I'll tell you what. I think we're down there. That's not good for us. What year was that? Every log club members. Oh yeah.
We're having a lot of fun, but understand one thing. This is the chapel, okay? So we need to be a little respectful for this building. We're going to take you inside and tell you what we have here that we're going to take you to. And this is the biggest place we can put you all together, okay? We need to give you guys some information before Carl comes out with the rest of the folks. I believe we need to consider that. Okay, listen up. I'm going to tell you real quick so that Carl's going to bring some more folks down to get down to the big room. All the buildings that we just walked by here, the supply room, the two-story barracks, or billets, depending on how you want to say it. The chapel on the expanding in. The mess hall over there, which is no longer called a mess hall now, it's called a dining facility. Defect. They do that in Marines as well. You still call it a mess hall? Same thing. We now call it a defect. It's terrible. Then we have those buildings all came, these buildings all came from Harmony Church, which is a major training post on Fort Benning. It used to be for basic training and for the Rangers, which I was one of those guys. But now it's all for artillery, all for Harmony Church for a chapel. So I was here before it was here. We have a battalion headquarters, which was actually General George Patton's battalion headquarters when he was here at Fort Benning, the 2nd Army Division Commander. And so everything here is all from that particular era. This is the finest Georgia pine you'll see anywhere. And so if you want to look around the chapel, we'll come back and look at the chapel because Mr. Fetty's got a group here he's going to talk to, and I'm going to take you all out the door. We're going to go over and hit the barracks, 2-story buildings. You'll get a big kick in there. Don't take the young one brains out of the rifle racks and get crazy with you, okay? All right, let's go. Turn that motor off. Come on up here a little bit so I can see you can hear me. This barracks is a Series 700 building. Everybody wonders where did these barracks come from that we all lived in. Before they had this big war in World War II, these buildings were designed for the Civilian Conservation Corps. If you don't know what that is, you're going to have to look it up. I don't have time to explain it all to you. When the war started, the president said, where are we going to put all these millions of military folks we're going to start drafting? On his desk was the design for this Series 700 building. He said, what about this? They said, we can build them in 4 or 5 days. And they'll hold 60 to, you can put 70 people in here if you wanted to. I've never seen them more with about 45. He said, build those. This building was built before I was born, and I'm 67 years old. And it's still here. What happened was, they figured out they could build them really quick, but the only problem was they told them they would only last 11 years, 10 or 11 years. And the other problem was they'd burn to the ground in 15 minutes. I can tell you they will. The closest time we got was 22 minutes because we had these buildings over in Harmony Church, as I mentioned. We had to get rid of all these kind of buildings over there. So the Army said, we'll sell them. You could have bought this building for $500 and you had 6 months to get it off Fort Benning. A lot of people in Alabama bought them because if you're not in Phoenix City proper, you're on a well and a sewer thing, not part of the city. So property was relatively inexpensive, but to build a house was very expensive. So a lot of people bought modular homes or double wides or whatever you want to call them, and a lot of them bought these buildings to build garages, corrals, anything they needed, shops, anything. So we didn't sell them all right away, so what they said, let's set one on fire. 22 minutes later, it was gone. So we had this thing in the Army at some of the, well, we got a few little senior guys here. We had this goofy job in here when you lived in it to be a fire guard. One guy would walk around for an hour and make sure there was no fire. And then he'd wake up another guy and he'd walk around for an hour and make sure there was no fire. Because these were all coal-fired buildings at the time. We don't do that anymore. And
We do.
they still do that?
Yeah.
Somebody asked me what this ladder was for. I told them it's for the people on the 2nd floor. We're not going upstairs. OSHA asked us not to. It's a ladder for the 2nd floor people to get out in case the building catches fire. I'm here to tell you, I'm an old airborne ranger. If this building catches fire, any window will do, I'm getting out. I'm not standing behind 5 other guys waiting. Could you hurry up? The building's on fire. I don't know why they put that here. It's crazy. Key thing to look at when you go through this door, this building, this room on this side and this room on this side are called cadre rooms. You all know what that means. There's a staff. That one was for the platoon sergeant. I lived in one of these until I got married in '68 and found out there was more to a house than that room. This side is a barracks sergeant. He lived in a barracks, responsible for the soldiers in the barracks once the platoon sergeant went home, if he had a home to go to. This one is set up for a Sergeant First Class Liberato. He was a real platoon sergeant. He was one of our paid employees' grandfather. In the process of building the museum, he passed away. General White, who was the proponent for this place, said, make that Sergeant Liberato's room. So his footlocker is stenciled with his name. He's got a picture in here, his personal radio. That's the only bunk that you will see is the actual thick mattress that we actually slept on, which was like that. The rest of them are foam padding, so don't be misled. But that one is the only one that has a metal wall locker in it. All the metal, as you know from World War II history, went to build jeeps and bullets and helmets and things like that. That's the size wall locker that they had in World War II. That's the same size wall locker I had in 1965. You couldn't put anything they issued you, Lieutenant, in that wall locker because 2 uniforms fills it up. But we somehow managed. So come on in here and I'll tell you what we have laid out in here. It's pretty neat. And no, we did not have screen doors. Somebody asked me that. That's why I said it was closed.
This is, yes.
We didn't need it. On the West Coast, we didn't need it.
Looking for to make sure that some of our guys are crazy players out there. Well, come on in and I'll tell you some more fun stuff.
Airborne aerosol?
No, not aerosol. We didn't have aerosol when I was in.
Really?
I just went to drum school, went to Ranger school, 2 tours in Vietnam, had a great time. Spent 24 years. They sent me a check.
Where'd you get your Purple Heart?
I got 2 of them. I got 1 on each tour in Vietnam because I was an equal opportunity wounded guy.
Really? Oh my God.
I made sure I got hurt on each one. The bad part was I was the medic. You infantry guy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know what happens. You get a medic per platoon. It's real bad when the medic gets hit. Has to get medevaced out.
Had to really help out.
I was very embarrassed. All right, come on in the building.
I know.
What's the money on the
I'm going to tell you. Okay, we had a tradition in the military for those of us old sergeants.
Nursing schools to do.
This thickness of this bed obviously is not what we slept on. You saw the other one. What we would do when we would train soldiers in basic training, they'd make up their bunk, and a bunch of us goofy guys would come along and flip a quarter, and if it bounced, they made the bed tight enough. If it didn't, they're in trouble. You could bounce anything off of this mattress. I wish I could have slept on that, but I didn't. You'll notice that the bunks are at one level. You're all probably typically from either living in one or watching old movies. We were double stacked. We had a thing called the bunk adapter that somebody invented. We use it for a weapon. Some guys try to take your wallet out of your wall locker, you had a bunk adapter. You hook 4 of them to the post of the bed and you put another bunk on top. That's what some of you are familiar with. These are head to toe. That was a dumb idea. I say that because I was a medic and a nurse now. They figured if you put people head to toe, germs wouldn't get passed back and forth. It's amazing. The distance between that head of the bed and the foot of the bed is less than 8 inches. I measured it. Germs don't say, okay, it's at 8, oh, we gotta stop. So in time we turned them all around. No wall lockers in here. I already told you why outside. This is actual World War II clothing. Over here is the unique thing. There's 2 foot lockers. We actually had those at the base of these beds. Only to display the top shelf, and there's a picture on the wall as well, and the bottom part of the wall locker. The Army did this neat thing, and I'm sure the Marines did it too. There's 7 days in the week. The Army gave us 6 shorts, 6 t-shirts, 6 pair of boot socks, 3 pair of what we call Oxford shoe or low quarter dress shoe socks. There's 7 days a week. They gave us 6. There's no washing machines in here. Everything was turned into the supply room for the quartermaster laundry to send them off to be cleaned. You gotta wear some. There's some in the laundry bag that you put in there. And a guy like me says, Saturday morning, foot and wall locker inspection. What the hell are you gonna put in there? So everybody bought extra. These are camouflage. We didn't have camouflage in the 60s. That came later. The top tray is pretty unique because every soldier had exactly the same thing in their foot locker tray, and I'm sure y'all in the Marine Corps had the same goofy rule. You got a comb and a shaving brush and all the things that went on your uniform. It's kind of funny because when I was 19 years old, I didn't shave. I didn't start shaving when I was about 30. But I had one of them brushes and shaving cream in there any damn way. as a requirement. On this bunk is a full field layout that they would have used at that particular time. Mess kit, they don't even issue mess kits to soldiers anymore. I don't know about you guys, we don't even have them. Everybody eats MREs. It's just kind of typical of what you would carry if you went to the field at that time. The stuff that y'all are carrying right now, if I said I want a full field layout, you would need 3 bunks. When I jumped out of airplanes in the 60s and I had my gear was a little bit more than this and a little more newer, I had about 40 pounds of gear. That's about it. It wasn't a bad job. One of my friends who works in the museum, Master Sergeant Goodrow, who is a over 20 year, he was the first sergeant 507th Airborne School here, who he's got more badges than any police department has. He said a full loaded infantry soldier now jumping out of an airplane's got about 118 or 20 pounds of gear, and I'm sure the lieutenant can verify that. You've seen enough jump. So that didn't work so well, okay? In the middle of the floor are all the weapons that they would have used. They're M1 Garands. M1 Garands was the first weapon for World War II, later turned into the M14, which I used in Vietnam on my first tour, later into the M16, and now we got more weapons with acronyms and numbers. I couldn't tell you what half of them were. MP4, MP5, I know what those are. These weapons were kept in a basic training unit in the middle of the floor because every soldier was issued a weapon by serial number. Obviously still doing that. The reason they do that is if this gentleman and I go to the rifle range, I zero my weapon, I get 3 groups of 3 shots to get a nice shot group, so that, you know, you don't hit Tennessee, California, and New York. Nice group, and I zero my weapon, he zeroes his. Next time we go to the range, if I take his weapon, I'm probably not going to hit anything. It's zeroed to him in the way he holds it. So we all had to remember those numbers, and they left them in the barracks so we could clean them a lot. Actually, my number was 1489, 1969. Why do I remember that after 44 years? I don't know. It took me forever to learn my serial number, and we went to Social Security numbers as serial numbers. It took me a couple more months to remember that one. But I never forgot that weapons number. Upstairs replicates downstairs, except there's 3 more cadre rooms in the back upstairs. We don't go up there. The fun part of this whole place is the far right-hand corner is the latrine. The reason it's fun is there's 10 or 12 sinks in there. There's 6 commodes. No partitions, no separations, no privacy, no nothing. And the shower is shows 3 shower heads, but in most of the cases we had 6 shower heads. And you'll see no washing machine. And most of the guys during my era, and probably yours, if they're still doing crazy inspections in that latrine, anybody used that latrine in the morning got their butt beat because we cleaned it at night after the last guy. Otherwise, we have to go clean it again in the morning. Okay? Do you have any questions about this kind of barracks and stuff? If you don't, take a look at the latrine. And then we'll move to the orderly room, okay? Or we'll go across the way to the mess hall in case you're hungry. I was with the 283rd Death Staff as a medevac medic. Okay. My second tour I was with the 198th Light Infantry Brigade, which is now training basic trainees in Fort Benning. I went over on a ship from Fort Hood, Texas, and it was not a cruise ship. And it took 22 days of throwing up.
That sounds wonderful.
How did you get injured when you got over there?
Somebody shot down my helicopter and broke some legs and got some shrapnel. And the other time somebody just thought a hand grenade, a mortar round going off behind me would be perfect. And my flak jacket was off, so I got my back filled up with shrapnel.
Oh man.
I had just taken it. Night defensive perimeter. So I'm taking this damn thing off. Well, I didn't sit down 5 seconds. And then coming 60 skin. Went off right behind me.
You're lucky it was only 60.
Well, I'm lucky it wasn't a bullet.
Where are you from, sir?
Originally I'm from California, but
What part?
Orange County.
Okay.
But I spent my whole life in the military, so I really never had a home till I retired here in '89.
Really? That's when this guy was born.
Where?
Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, cool. I could tell as soon as you said something. So you know when I told these guys it's used guys.
Go outside. to the mess hall.
We called a DFAC. As you guys know in the military, everything has an acronym. So they can't say dining facility, you can only say DFAC. We would have brought basic trainee kind of guys here. Down the side, there's a little pull-up bar or a chin-up bar. Later on, we developed this other thing called an overhead ladder. It's a nightmare, 72 rungs to go down the rungs. You get to the end, the drill sergeant lets you in to eat. If you fall off, you get back in line. I got it back in line a lot. They changed the name because I guess they didn't like the real name. Now, something that we did many years ago was KP, Kitchen Police, and Guard Duty. When the Army decided to have a modern volunteer Army in 1973-ish, they said, we're going to ask people to come in the Army. We got to get rid of some menial tasks. Those were the two, KP and Guard Duty. After basic training, and the Army side, you don't go to a unit and wind up on KP or Guard Duty. Everything's contracted out. I'm sure it's all, every service does that now. Well, they got rid of it because when they ask you to join the military, and they say, oh, by the way, one of the jobs you're going to have, we're going to give you a stick. And we're going to send you 20 miles out of Fort Benning, and you're going to guard the ammo supply point. In case anybody tries to steal anything. You got a stick! That's kind of dumb duty. Now we pay people to do it. No, I think they actually have a gun. The other job was KP, Kitchen Police. As you all can remember, there's 5 jobs usually in the mess hall. Once you woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, when the first sergeant put your name on the duty roster, you wound up in this building. And the first guy here signed up for a job. First guy here got the best job. Best job is dining room orderly. All you have to do is take care of the inside of this building, summer or winter. You don't go outside. It was not air conditioned either. And so all you did is make sure that gunny or that first sergeant got a little extra coffee, maybe a piece of cake. And you kept the place clean and trash empty, and that was your job for about 13 hours. Sitting on these tables, when I first came in, I was doing these chores in here. Those 2 placards were on the front. I told Major General White, who was our benefactor, he designed this. I said, we have to take those placards off the front tables and put them on the back. He said, what? I said, when I was the first sergeant, when I took my unit to the field, the sergeants, the senior sergeants, and the officers ate last. Because you're supposed to feed your soldiers before you feed yourself. They're the ones doing all the work. So he said, gee, I forgot. So we put them all, it's going the other way, good. So I told him to put them on the back, because that's what's supposed to happen. And that's probably still happening today, I would hope. I've had many lieutenants and E7s who were in the mess hall while we were in the field. Get out of my line. And the response was, what if they run out of food? My answer was, too bad. Because you make them guys work very hard. A lot of you are those guys and gals. You need to eat. Okay? Picnic tables at that particular time, shortly after that, we went to tables and 4 chairs like real people have. This would have been a basic training kind of mess hall. We have, let's see what we're doing. These, only time I ever saw picnic tables used from 65 to 89 was in Vietnam, because we had wooden structured buildings and big canvas or aluminum roofs, and so we'd line these up in a row, because that battalion mess facility would feed 300 people. And you got all your gear on, so you need a lot of room. And that's the only time I ever saw these picnic tables actually being used. Actually, since y'all a bunch of Marines, my base camp in Chu Lai, if you look a little history, there was a hill called Hill 69, LZ Snoop. When we went in country on my second tour, the Marines had just left it. They had manned that hill for many, many battles. I don't remember the unit designator of that unit, but there were signs everywhere. Sorry about you guys in the Army, we didn't clean up, and you know, it's just a back and forth thing. It was kind of funny. But they had that hill just before we got it. And it was in great shape. They had a Corps of Engineers who made everything level. It was perfect. When you came in here, you would go, as a private, you would come through this door after doing your pull-ups, push-ups, or overhead ladder. And you come through this door, and there'd be these friendly guys back here, the mess sergeant and all of his guys. Friendly guys, of course. You'd hold your tray up, couldn't talk, basic training. And they would pile something in one of those little squares on your tray. You didn't know what it was, but you ate it. We used to tell people they learn to eat by colors in the Army. You go to the mess hall line, I'll have some of that yellow stuff. This is after basic. I'll have some of the yellow stuff. I'll have some of the orange stuff. I'll have some of that green stuff. So probably corn and carrots and green beans. And then when you got to the meat thing, you'd say, and what's that? You ever asked your mother, what's that? You would never eat again in your house. But they would tell you, it's meatloaf. And I asked them, what was it yesterday? Hamburgers. So we ate by colors. The only exception to the buildings in the fucking Kentucky and Mississippi National Guard. Time he got done, it was real late at night. I guess instead of going back, waking up Mrs. Patton, him and his aide-de-camp slept in his building. So we just got a bunk, 2 bunks in there. There's nothing in there. But it is his building. You may be looking at these ramps. I must clarify this. Everything here is ADA approved. American Disability Act. If you come here in a wheelchair, you can see everything in this museum. We make sure that we take people wherever they need to go. We have pre-positioned wheelchairs in here, so anybody can come here. When you go through this door, you look to the right, you'll see commanding officer at the top. That would be usually a lieutenant colonel. And executive officer. You all know that are in the higher level of the military rank, commanding officers don't sit at the door. The sergeant major would be sitting at the door. But we don't go upstairs, so we brought the placards down. Okay? These are all G's 1 through 4, because it would be a general staff building because of General Patton. Normally, most of us see S 1s through 4 battalion level. Now, they all have a reason and they all have a meaning. And for those in the military, you'll know what I'm saying. For those who are not in the military, I got an easy way to explain it. S1, G1, if you all have a job, you have a human resource. That human resource has everything about you. Your insurance and your 401k, your name, your family members, who to call on emergency. S1, similar. We had a little folder called the 201 file, but I'm sure it's on a disk now. And everything about you is in that folder. So we use the S1 guy, so if you got married, you'd bring your marriage license in, the S1 guy or gal would put it together and make sure you got your quarters allowance, or you got all the necessary things that are allowed, your wife got an ID card, things like that. So that's pretty standard. Any branch of the military has an S1. S2, security. Everybody knows that. In the peacetime Army, not real important. They'll get your security clearance for you, and they'll make sure you're not a felon and somehow or another got in the Army to be a quota. But in the combat situation, that's where it's important. They're the ones going to tell you where the IEDs are, what roads you shouldn't be driving on. Yeah, all your high-speed intel is in that department. I always thought it was kind of funny because on the floor here is a giant safe, and it has 4 handles on it. So you can take it to the field. So why can't a bad guy take it to his headquarters? You know, I never understood the handles on these things. For the World War II guy, I went to Vietnam in 1965, and when we went to the field, this was my desk. Same serial number. I went to Germany in '80. I went to the field. This was my desk. Sergeant Goodrow, who works up here, he's our liaison from the Army side, got back from Iraq about a year ago. This was his desk. We got a lot of use out of this. Got little places where you can put all your paperwork and stuff and whatever. They didn't change this because of everybody having laptops and computers. I don't know where they put them now. Another reason when I say we have to give tours is because this would fall down. This would attach to the side of the desk to be the desk top. Inside was this neat little stool. Somebody stole it. And we can't find another one. So, some stuff lasts forever and some stuff don't last very long. Okay? Armor?
Stuart?
It didn't go so well.
Okay.
Jump. Go into the right hand Sherman tank.
Dennis the Menace. Oh, yeah. Don't touch nothing, Dennis.
Okay, there we go. I'm gonna get the Stuart tank, and that's the Sherman.
That's a battalion. Each company has an orderly room. The orderly room controls the 4 or 5 platoons that you have in your company. So information comes from General Patton, goes in here to good Captain Kelly. He tells the first sergeant comes out and tells the 5 platoon sergeants or gunnies, and they in turn tell you. Today if your name showed up on the duty roster, everybody hates stuff. Somebody had mentioned something about this barracks a minute ago. For those of you who are not familiar with Fort Benning, over in Sand Hill, we have 6 training battalions, trained by the 198th Light Infantry Brigade. They live in what we call starships. They were built many years ago. Big brick buildings, and they're up off the ground about, I don't know, 15, 18 feet. They're on piers. That building holds an entire battalion. Everybody. 4 companies. Orderly rooms, headquarters companies, the battalion commander, mess hall, little place if you're sick, all those S1 shops, and S2, 3, and 4, everything in one building. They built those, one, so they could control a unit better. That would be a battalion. This is a battalion. And they also keep that barracks at 68 degrees, because in the summertime we get really hot. So if we have inclement weather, some of you are trainers, you know that when you have a training schedule, if you can't do what's supposed to be trained, your whole week is messed up. You got to fit it in.
Tomorrow.
Friday, Sunday. You wake up on Saturday.
All of the stuff like telephone and gas and brake riders and game tags are all registered in that area. These benches are here only for this. We're now in the screening so we can develop a orientation so we're not going to use traffic. This orderly room, after the normal duty hours, would have been what we're all familiar with the day room. Okay? We didn't have an independent day room like we have now. What would happen is, after the day ended, there'd be that poor person who's in charge of quarters sitting over there, maintaining the balance in his company. And then this would be the day room side. And what would have been in here would have been probably a shuffleboard court. Big long thing, red and green pucks, sprinkle some stuff on there, put yours down, knock your buddies off, game. Probably a pool table, probably snooker or snicker pool. I never learned how to play that. And if your unit fund had a few bucks, you might even have a ping pong table. And you would have a Coke machine. I don't know why, but I think we had something going on with the Coke department. Every place that I was in, it wasn't this far back, we had a Coke machine. Here was a model railroad cruise. He built all his own buildings and everything for this massive model railroad set he had at home, from what I understand. So he built that for us. What we found unique about it was there's a coal bin behind this miniature, and there's also one behind that battalion headquarters. The coal bin is just an L-shaped concrete thing that coal was piled up in when buildings were coal-fired. As time went on, it became, like in training, the only place you could go and have a cigarette without getting yelled at. They measured one of these miniature ones, then they measured the real. It's the scale. So Well, they came back and started measuring other things like windows, ladders, size of buildings. That is to scale. Whoever did that knew an awful lot about these buildings. And they have lights in them. You punch a button and it lights up the buildings. It's pretty easy. Okay? So if you don't have any questions, go ahead and look in the order room if you like. It's like little tiny airplanes for observation. General Pat probably goes to the education. Yes,
February 1943. Holy mackerel. Phone, typewriter,
who's in charge of this group?
The staff sergeant. Wait, what? Total.
You got your mail here too. Whenever you want to form them up, and whenever you want to form them up, Sergeant, you can form them up and take them where you want to.
What do now?
We're going to take that. Let's call that yellow cat. The yellow circle in the PAT. See what company it is. So when you went somewhere, they put all the yellow in the trucks. Hopefully all your ammo was in one.
How did the Marines decide to come to do this tour here?
A Marine is basically an infantry soldier.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Just infantry for the Navy. That's basically what
I always tell the Marines there's only two kind of infantry people in all the military services. You're one and they're the other. They don't have any other fun jobs.
Not really.
You know, they're not going to be an aviator. Well, they could be. Yeah, the Marines do, but mostly. Of course, I know where your heart lies anyway. So, you know, have you been to jump school yet?
Yes, I have. I just didn't wear.
Did you just graduate today?
I graduated eye bullets today.
Oh,
So
well, let me tell you something from the old first sergeant.
yeah,
And one that has wings.
I can tell.
Two kinds.
Yeah, I know.
When you earn those wings, and you did, falling out of airplanes or fire drops in, you get some simps, some sequence, and get them on you, and don't ever take them off. Okay? That really makes you stand out for the rest. And just like I questioned, are you in that unit? Because I didn't see no wings. And when you bust your butt to go through jump school and be treated like an animal for 3 weeks and tossed out of a perfectly good airplane,
I don't know who would do that. That just
I threw people out. And you get your wings awarded to you, you never take them off. And if you ever get to the point, and you probably will, where you get your CIB, don't ever take that off. Because my uniform that's been hanging up since 1989 has my combat medics badge, similar to CIB, and my wings and my ranger tab, and they don't even come off, ever. Okay? And you're lucky I didn't see you earlier, because usually up in my jacket I keep a half a dozen subdued wings, a half a dozen CIBs, and a half a dozen combat medic badges. I didn't wear my jacket today, I rode my motorcycle. Because when I catch you guys, I don't mean you guys, lieutenants, when I catch guys just finished jump school, where's your wings? Well, they're giving me silver ones, I can't wear them on this uniform. You're correct. Go in the store and buy some.
Well, thank you, sir, for your time today. Phil,
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. You did a wonderful
Tell you
job.
what, he's got a rough job now the rest of his time. Because you've only been in, what, 7 months?
6 months.
6 months. So you went to basic training here?
I went to West Point.
Oh,
And
excellent.
I graduated.
So you went, did you go to jump school from West Point? Or did
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
The let me go to jump school.
You even should know more than you should be getting.
I understand.
You going to? Are you down the road scheduled for anything else like?
I have to go to Ranger School January 29th.
Yeah, if you go to West Point, you come out of West Point, you get your commission, you come in the active army. If you're not wearing a set of jump wings and a Ranger tab, it takes a long time to become a captain. You got that stuff on, you become a captain on the secondary side. And it's really quick. Okay? I'm not just giving you a hard time. I like lieutenants. It was the best thing I had to play with in Vietnam.
There you go, man.
They would send me a brand new lieutenant, and I'd say, "Where did you come from?" "Fort Benning. I got my book here." We used to have a little blue book, soldier's book for officers.
Oh, I think they still have
They
that.
probably still.
Yeah, they still have
I tell them, "Give me your book and give me your M16." Then you give it to me. I go sit down. What's that mean? It means I'm not giving this back to you until I think you can use it. Because they were West Pointers. They were Fort Benning 90-day wonders. I'll give it back to you when I think you can use it. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm the damn platoon sergeant, pal. And he said, "I'm going to the colonel." His name was Lieutenant Wazowski. I remember his name. He went to the battalion commander. I was on my second tour. The colonel was on his second tour.
Okay.
I said, "Go see him." So he did. And then the colonel got on the phone and called me from the aid station, told me to come up, because I was hanging around up there. And I went in and he said, "You having a problem with Lieutenant Wazinski?" Oh, first he said, "You having a problem with Lieutenant Ski?" The lieutenant said, "Sir, that's Wazinski." "No, that's Lieutenant Ski, having a problem?" I said, "Yes, sir, I took his weapon away." He said, "That's what I thought." And he said to the lieutenant, "Sergeant Smith will give you your weapon back when he figures you know how to use it, and I can get out of my office."
Just what you told him.
And then I had other lieutenants that came, and some had prior service, and some were West Pointers. I said, "Look, you teach me every damn thing you know, because I don't want to get killed. I don't want to ever have to shoot this damn thing, and I want to make sure everybody lives." So some of us former combat veterans, we'd spend time. And my lieutenant, Stevenson, never fired his M16. Not because he didn't want to, he didn't have to.
Yeah.
We took care of our lieutenant. He turned out to be the best lieutenant I ever saw in 24 years in the Army.
Huh,
Because
amazing.
he listened.
Do you know where he is now?
I haven't got a clue. That was 1966.
Understood.
He's probably dead. But and he wasn't even never went to jumps. It wasn't a big issue at that time. If you're go through OCS or you go through the point, well, point makes you go to jump school. But if you're infantry, if you go to OCS, it's not a requirement to go to jump school.
Yeah.
And a lot of lieutenants, when they get commissioned here downtown, and they come in and they're they're in brand new stuff. "You going to jump school?" "No, I'm in transportation." "That's okay, but you might want to go to jump school." Don't need to. You'll be a lieutenant the rest of your life.
So tell me what these medals are.
This is the brigade battalion I was in Vietnam, which is now in Sand Hill.
Okay.
These are 2 Purple Hearts because I didn't duck good.
Right.
Then there's a set of open wings here. I was a crew member on a dust-off helicopter in Vietnam.
Okay.
We picked up wounded in combat zones.
Got it.
And the wings next to it are going to be just like the lieutenants. I jumped out of airplanes because they paid me more money. And this one is my combat medic badge, which is equivocal to the infantry's combat infantry badge. Only medics who were actually assigned to the infantry were awarded a combat medics badge when the infantry guys were awarded their combat infantry badges.
Yeah.
If you were just a medic in a field hospital somewhere, you got nothing. Oh, I have 1,500 hours of volunteer time.
Fantastic.
And actually I have 1,920. I'm about to get my 2,000 hour camp. But I have nothing else to do. I retired after 24 years, and I said, I got out of the Army in '89, but it unfortunately didn't get out of me. Because I loved the Army.
Okay, so wait a minute. So your father was...
my father was a tanker.
but he was a parachuter?
He went to jump school.
He went to jump school when?
Oh, shortly after the test platoon found out it was okay.
That was,
I don't know what year,
validate.
but he was a tank destroyer commander, a Hellcat in the Philippines when the war started.
Was he
Oh,
with
wow.
the 187th Parachute Infantry Regiment at all?
No, he was with the 472nd Tank Destroyer Battalion or something under Patton. But he
didn't fly, did he?
No.
Okay.
But when he went to jump school because he got paid money.
Right.
And so he wore his parachute wings. You know, we got people running all over the Army that are not infantry guys that have jump wings. I'm a medic. I got jump wings.
Yeah. I see.
So it's a chance to go to those schools. So when he got out of the Army, he put all of his stuff in the drawer. And then when I came in the Army, and when I did jump school, he came to the graduation, obviously here at Benning. This is the only place we teach jump school in the military.
Right.
And so he said, "You got these. These are older than you."
And he turned around and gave them to you.
Yep, he pinned them on my chest, but he didn't give me blood wings because I threatened him. And I wore those on my uniform the whole time I was in the Army.
This wasn't there when he graduated basic training, but.
But what do you mean? Oh, I see. The
basic training for enlisted people.
The enlisted guys.
Bravos,
Got it.
11 bang bang.
Okay.
So,
Dedicated to the Revolutionary War infantrymen, America's first soldiers.
Wow. Okay, we're going to go back to the main building, check it out a little bit, and then go.
read out 10 where they made the British surrender. The French Navy had cornered them off so they couldn't escape. They lost completely safe by sea, and the Americans had surrounded them.
It was Alexander Hamilton, Mike? The guy on the $5 bill?
Yep.
If Lee had broken through, he would have went forward and captured Washington, D.C. But
Okay, so you were carrying some of these?
Yeah, like on the 16-mile road march, I carried this bad boy, the saw, which weighs about 16, 17. This one, the saw.
The M249, then this M203.
Squad automatic. It weighs about 16 pounds with ammo. Like I was carrying ammo, it weighs about 20 pounds also.
Right, so this is everything that they teach them today.
Ranger training better understand themselves and their limitations, and are better equipped to lead and to train other soldiers to be ready where it counts most. The Ranger School, located in Fort Benning, Georgia, is especially designed to develop leadership